1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to Detroit underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as podcasters. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Soul of Detroit.
Interrogative question right in my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Albert?
Hey, kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric, coming to you live on the Soul of Detroit with your old pal, ML Elric. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, my cutout finally arrived. It's the only way I was able to watch those Michigan State football games this season.
You paid money to have yourself in the stands. That's really cute.
Yeah. I only wish I could have got that into Michigan Stadium, which was the only game this year that I truly missed. But we have a full show for you today. Mark Fellhauer is here, allegedly working on sounders, and Sean Windsor is here, allegedly making cogent sounds, but we will see how that goes. We have a couple special guests today as well. Darren Nichols, the contributing columnist of the Detroit Free Press, who's going to be talking about his column on Kwame Kilpatrick's release and bringing up a topic that we had hoped to speak to Daniel Ferguson about today, which is if Kwame Kilpatrick is freed and he had a much stiffer sentence, why is Bobby Ferguson still in prison with a lesser sentence? Daniel Ferguson was hoping to join us today, but he's waiting to hear back from his cousin Bobby, so we're giving him a rain check. Standing in is Mr. Mike Rattay, Esquire, the lawyer who so ably defended Mr. Ferguson. In fact, when I spoke to the jurors in the Kilpatrick trial, Mr. Rattay was one of their favorite attorneys, and in fact, he got the charges that Mike argued were the charges that Bobby did not get convicted of. So hopefully he'll be as effective an advocate for Bobby as he seeks to get out of prison. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Good to be with you, ML.
Great to be here.
So we're brought to you on Facebook Live by Roy O'Brien Ford. We're going to be telling you a little bit more about Roy O'Brien later in the show. That's ROYOBRIEN.com. But first, these two guys have got a lot to talk about, and they're busy men, so we're going to dive right into the conversation. Darren, why don't you start off by just giving us a recap of that column that you wrote in the Free Press right after Mr. Kilpatrick's release, which, if you listen to last week's show, surprised me as much as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, my column dealt with sort of the mood of Detroit. I didn't see a whole lot of people jumping up and down who were overly excited about it. So I dealt with some of the larger issues that were involved, black men that are in the penal system, and people knowing their family members and others who are within the prison system, and that was a big victory in terms of their eyes. And this was, in my opinion, what I wrote was kind of like when the OJ verdict came down, or when Marion Barry resurfaced himself. That they did. It was more like that. They won over the system. You're talking about people who were upset over the emergency manager, upset over the Flint water crisis, and Governor Snyder not being charged in that, and all of these bigger issues that Kwame Kilpatrick had a 28-year sentence that they thought was too long. And to try to bring it full circle, I mean, one of the things that I found very interesting in what was going on with this, that this was one of a number of things that happened with Kwame Kilpatrick that made him, that it was about him. All of the things that he's done throughout his career, it's been about him. Whether it was the affair that he had with Christine Beatty, whether it was the Navigator, all of the other, most of the issues that he dealt with, it was done singularly, and I think this case or this his release was more about him, and he never thought about Bobby Ferguson, who he was tied to, who was his friend, who was noted as his friend, dating back to teaching him how to ride a motorcycle. And there was no mention of helping Bobby get released as well, and all of those things.
I don't understand why he is the example. Maybe because he gets a lot of eyeballs. But you mentioned like the response from the city of Detroit. And so many times when you hear that, it is from the reverends, the pastors, the civic leaders, but never the people on the street. Do you have a sense of what regular Detroiters feel about it?
I think first of all, Kwame Kilpatrick is a very polarizing figure. So either you loved him or you hated him. And so I think the mood that I got was, 28 years was way too much. And they thought that that him getting out was more appropriate, given the amount of time that he was sent to prison.
So, Mike, you've got a client who's sitting in prison right now, who Peter Karmanos didn't go to bat for, who didn't write kind of a sniveling letter to President Trump, and who President Trump didn't see fit to free on his way out. Yeah, actually, I think Trump may be trying to free up some room in those prisons in case he's looking for a double-wide suite, but we'll see what happens with that. What did you make of this when you heard that Kilpatrick was getting out and that your client was staying in?
Well, ML, I think it's kind of been said already by Darren. I mean, I was shocked, number one, that Trump actually did that, But in terms of Bobby not getting out and Kwame getting out, I mean, obviously I don't want to see anybody spend any more time in prison than they have to, but clearly there's a disconnect here. I mean, how does Kilpatrick get out and Ferguson not get out? That was my visceral reaction. So, I'm like a lot of people, whether I'm his lawyer or not, it just doesn't seem fair. So, my reaction was, this is a bunch of bullshit.
I think that was a lot of
that puts a fine point on it. Have you talked to him? Have you talked to Bobby?
Yeah, I'm able to communicate with Bobby via a system called CoreLinks, which I talk to a lot of my clients through that are, doing prison time in the federal system. And I've been communicating with Bobby for the last 7 years. Every morning he sends me a Bible verse. Sometimes I don't get to CoreLinks every day, and I'll maybe miss 4 or 5 days, and I'll have 4 or 5 days of Bible verses to catch up on, and just trying to keep him positive. And he is actually very positive for the circumstances that he's in. So, but to answer your question, yes, I communicate with him.
What did he say when he heard that Kilpatrick was getting out, but that he was staying in?
Well, believe it or not, ML, I mean, he was like, I'm happy for him. And, God is good, and whatever happens, happens kind of thing, So he didn't express any sort of animosity towards Kilpatrick or towards the situation that Kilpatrick's out and he's still in. I mean, it was, well, it wasn't what you would expect. You know what I mean?
It's made even worse by the fact that Bobby's a private citizen, and the penalties are supposed to be harsher for public officials. That's why they have enhancements on there. Is Bobby hopeful that he'll get out sooner than what his sentence is?
I guess the only way that I can answer that is to say that he's put his fate in God's hands, and he knows that myself and Gerald Evelyn and Rob Higbee are out there still battling for him, and he's going to take it one day at a time.
Well, the problem is he needs somebody that has a lot of money, because to me this is really about who has money and who has power, and that is why Kilpatrick is out.
That's a good point. Somebody asked me, where the hell did Kilpatrick get money to pay off Trump? or whatever. I'm not sure that happened unless you guys have some other information.
I think Peter Karmanos was his benefactor there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
He's been a donor to Trump, and they seem to have a personal relationship. And if I recall correctly, Karmanos made a personal appeal while visiting Trump at the White House, as did Karen Whitsitt and I think Sherry Gay Dagnogo. So he's had
those are things I'm not aware of, but that makes sense to me now that you mention it, that we know that Karmanos was sponsoring Kilpatrick even before our trial or even before he was charged by the feds, right? So, that makes sense. But certainly Karmanos didn't dole out any cash on Bobby's behalf. I mean, that's for sure.
That's too bad, because one of the jobs that Bobby did that no one's questioned was preparing the CompuWare headquarters site in downtown Detroit. So you could say that Kilpatrick came later, that Ferguson and Karmanos go back a long way. Maybe if Bobby gets out, he can dig another hole for Pete.
Yeah. Hey, what can I tell you, bro? I mean, it is what it is, I mean, I'm not done, and we're still trying to figure out ways to deal with the situation, and we are, and we'll continue to try to get Bobby out. I mean, that's all we can do at this point. But the Trump train has sailed, or the Trump ship has sailed, so we got to figure out something else out.
So many people keep mentioning that, Kwame's going to have a role in this city. He can help out. He's got a lot to give. I think the mayor even said that he's got a lot to give. I mean, from where I sit, which is pretty far away, I just don't see him coming back here. Darren, do you think you would expect Kilpatrick to be back in Detroit?
No, I don't expect him to be back in Detroit, but, there are a lot of people. I think one of the things that people have said is that he can influence some of the elections that are going on in Detroit. Given some of the people who are running, I'm sure that he will try to influence some of that race, something along those lines. And then there was also talk about him potentially running for a Senate seat, and meaning taking on Rashida Tlaib. But I don't know. I mean, we first have to get past the 3 years of home confinement that he's on before we can even get to talk about him moving to Detroit.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back. I agree with Darren. I don't think he's coming back, myself personally.
Why do you feel that way, Mike?
Well, I mean, there's nothing for him here.
Yeah. No family, right? I mean, the family's
his kids are in Texas, I think, and his mom's down in outside Georgia. And I believe his dad's down there too, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I mean, what's for him here?
Except if he can make money here, I would think he would come back here.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I just feel, if he can make money here, and to Darren's point in his column, it's always about Kwame Kilpatrick. If he can separate people from their money here better than anywhere else, I could see him coming back.
Yeah, I mean, but who's going to do that? I mean, who's going to do business with him?
Well, don't forget, even when Karmanos hired him, he was working in Texas, and he was going to be a salesman. And I think whatever you think of Kwame Kilpatrick, he could sell ice creams to Eskimos, and he can work anywhere with a job like that. So I mean, I think and plus with our virtual economy, it seems to me that you could make a living anywhere in the country from right where you're sitting.
I'm sure he's trying to figure something out. I think we can all agree on that. What it's going to be, stay tuned, right?
Right. And the only thing that I was going to add is that there's nothing left for him in Detroit other than media scrutiny.
Right.
As soon as he gets to Detroit, every TV station is going to be over his house. Every little move that he makes, he'll be in the media. So I don't think there's a real necessity for him to be in Detroit.
Yeah, and I totally agree with Darren on that. I mean, he would be under the microscope like nobody's business. So, I mean, that's not good for his brand, if you will.
I think, Mike, you'll remember this. When he was here in Detroit during the trial, it was just a regular old citizen who saw him going to that Walmart in Chesterfield Township to pick up some cash that was wired to him. And that was someone who he probably thought was, he was far enough from home that people wouldn't notice him. Although in Chesterfield Township, I think you have a 6'5" black guy who looks like he could still play offensive line. He's going to stand out at the Walmart. But I mean, even a fairly innocuous transaction like that, somebody identified him, somebody ran their mouth, and it ended up costing him a weekend in the joint. So, I mean, he already knows wherever he goes, no matter how far from the city of Detroit, there are people who are going to be keeping eyes on him, rightly or wrongly. But I mean, say what you want about Kwame Kilpatrick, he's not an idiot. I mean, in Atlanta he'll be a celebrity. Here it could be like Darren says, he could be a spectacle.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: that's not the smartest thing in the world to do. Is for an African American male that's 6'5" go to Chesterfield Township, which is nothing but Trump country. I was out there this summer and I couldn't believe it. I wanted to get out of there so fast I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't drive fast enough to get out of there. For Christ's sakes.
So you're not keen on that particular corner of Macomb County, Mike?
Oh my goodness gracious. I mean, I saw Trump flags and Trump signs and people on the water with Trump flags on their stupid boats. I mean, I wish I would have had a bazooka or a 50 cal or something. I mean, I just had to get out.
Well, speaking of misuse of weapons, what do you think about our man from Wixom with the hockey stick? I know you and I have spent a couple minutes locked up for misuse of a hockey stick, but this guy's looking at, I don't know how long, 20 years or something?
Yeah, what an idiot, but whatever. I mean, we could talk about those morons until the cows come home, but anyways, yeah.
Well, you call those guys job security. Those are some potential clients, so.
Well, I will tell you that one of these fools that tried to kidnap the governor did call me. One of their family members, and they didn't have enough money. So, I mean, but, at this stage of my career, after doing this for 32 years, you kind of can pick and choose, and I've represented all kinds, I mean, murders, people charged with criminal sexual conduct and everything like that.
The Hutari.
But the Hutari,
mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. I mean, you talk about overreaching. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what the feds were thinking when they charged these people with sedition. What you saw on January 6th was sedition. The Atari case was blown out of they built it up for 2 years, and within 2 days, we blew that case out of the water where Judge Roberts was scratching her head going, what the hell are we doing here? And as you guys know, she dismissed the case after, 2 months of the government's proofs.
Yep.
She threw the case out. We didn't have to call a witness. We didn't even have to put up a defense.
Well, and she took the extraordinary step of inviting the media come in with cameras to hear her throw it out.
Correct.
or she met with the media afterwards. But I mean, I've never heard of a federal judge inviting the media into something like that. So she was totally disgusted with that.
She was, I mean, and just as a sidebar on that, not to digress too far, but I was so pissed off during that trial that every time we had a sidebar, I asked one time I told Judge Roberts, it says, I don't see a Chinese or a North Korean flags behind you. I said, I see an American flag. So, Judge, I got to ask you, what country are we in? And so after that, every time we had a sidebar and we'd walk away, she'd call me back and she'd put the microphone in my face and goes, do you have anything to say? And I'm like, the first time she did it, I'm like, I didn't know what she meant. And then I said, oh, yeah, what country are we in, Judge? And from that point forward, every time we had a sidebar, she insisted that I say it. So,
jeez, well, it sounds like you may owe her a referral on that one.
I love Judge Roberts. She's top-notch.
And now she's on senior status, so I think one of the first judges that Biden will be appointing will be from Michigan. Because I think that creates a vacancy in federal court, doesn't it, Mike?
No, not senior status, no.
Oh, okay. No. I thought maybe she was hanging on till the president changed. But
no, Judge Botani, obviously, she's retiring because she's battling cancer. God bless her. But now there's an opportunity, I believe, 1 or 2 spots for the Biden administration to fill. Thank God that none of the judges here in the Eastern District of Michigan left while that moron was president. So we were spared here in the Eastern District of Michigan not so much in the Western District of Michigan, but I've only been over there a few times in my career. For God's sakes, they didn't even close the courthouse down during this whole COVID period. The court's been wide open.
I was out there, and my wife, Teresa Balls, was out there, too, and they didn't even have people spreading out or wearing masks in the courtroom. By the time I got out there, they did talk about masks. But
I had a U.S. attorney that wanted me to go there without getting into too much detail, inside a cooperating witness in a case, blah, 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 blah. I ain't going over there. I says, you guys want to interview my client? We're going to do it here. You're not dragging them out to the. I'm not going in that hole. No way. And now, of course, I believe they got it. Now they have to comply with the COVID rules. I believe the court's going to be shut down now.
Yeah, Biden made the protocol apply to all federal facilities.
That's
so
correct.
that'll affect them out there in Grand Rapids and all the courthouses. And I don't want to speak for Mike because I get in trouble when I do, but I think I'm accurate when I say the issue was that this defendant in this Whitmer kidnapping plot, it wasn't that they lacked for money, just that there's not enough money on earth for Mike to represent one of those guys.
Yeah, at this stage of my career, I can pick and choose, and I chose not to get involved in that because, first of all, just the idea, it's so stupid. It's ridiculous. And of course, what's his name? He's already, one of these clowns has already pled guilty.
Yeah, and, Ty Garbin, the guy from Wyandotte.
Exactly. I'm interested to know whether or not he's cooperating against his other cohorts. But I know that the lawyer was pounding his chest and all this other stuff, and then he's the first one that caved. So whatever.
Well, that's sort of like the smartest guy in the room. When you hear a guy put his hand up when you ask who the smartest guy in the room is, you usually have just identified the dumbest.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mike is if you want to hear Mike talk more about that case, he did a great interview on the No BS News Hour a couple months ago. I was listening to it while I was doing my Christmas shop, and I was cracking up. It was a great show, and Mike, of course, unlike a lot of these place soldiers, is a former Marine, so he took an oath. He's still keeping it. So, Mike, we appreciate you taking the time. We're going to have you back on again soon to talk about our Clark Park hockey game, which we're doing again this year. So we'll get it going. And Darren, thanks for joining us. What's coming up next for you under the Free Press? I know you got a couple columns that popped last week. We'll put links to those on our website. But what can we look forward to?
We can look forward to, I'm working on a piece about recreational marijuana in Detroit and how Black people, how they're trying to get Black people involved in an industry where there's less than 5% African Americans that are involved throughout the country.
Okay, well, I hope your relationship with the Free Press continues, even though my pick for the next executive editor of the Free Press just left. That would be your wife, Nicole Avery Nichols, who is now going to be the executive editor over at Chalkbeat. So congratulations to Nicole, and keep up the good work, Darren. And Mike, I know you got some justice to mete out, so thanks.
I do, but thanks, guys, and everybody stay safe.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We will be talking to each of you gentlemen later, but before we get to our Geek of the Week, I got to tell you about some folks who are not geeks. They are of the highest caliber and, in fact, fascinating people. They are the good people at Roy O'Brien Ford. I know Sean has told me he's going to spend some time over there, not because he wants to get his car serviced, just because he wants to spend some time with a better class of people. And I appreciate that. That seems like a prudent decision. My mom bought a Ford Focus wagon there. It's a fire engine red. You've probably seen her driving around it, driving too fast. Little old lady from, not really Pasadena, but from the east side. And she is still a satisfied customer more than 110,000 miles later. Roy O'Brien's been taking care of customers like my mom for nearly 75 years from the corner of 9 Mile and Mac. If you want to find out more about them, you can go to royobrien.com. Check out Fast Track, which lets you choose your vehicle and options. You can pick your deal, whether you want to lease it, finance it, or pay cash. Get the value of your trade-in. You can apply for financing and even schedule delivery of your new ride. If you go there in person, they are taking all of this seriously. Social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer. It's all there, along with some sweet rides and some good deals. So I can tell you from my experience firsthand, they will take care of you. You will be safe, and you will find a good deal. To learn more, visit royobrien.com or call 888-566-5851. Be sure to tell them ML's mom's son sent you, and to leave a chair in the waiting room for Mr. Windsor, because he will be there. Guaranteed, right, Sean?
Sure.
So I got to ask you, ML.
Oh, yeah.
As someone who covered Kilpatrick.
Oh, yeah.
Won a Pulitzer covering him.
Or uncovered Kilpatrick, as the case may be.
Are you exhausted by it?
So
because you seemed on the text, because we had a little text conversation at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, there's text getting people in trouble again.
Well, no, it was in trouble, but you just seemed exhausted by it, the whole thing.
I've said on this show before, if anybody wants to listen, I'm tired of talking about Kwame Kilpatrick. I think Kwame Kilpatrick is a part of Detroit's past. I'm looking forward. I'm running for city council because I want to think about what we're going to do in the future. I will say I was surprised by Mr. Kilpatrick's release, but I will also say, and I was a little choked up when I saw him hugging his boys at the airport, because whatever you feel about what Mr. Kilpatrick did, his sons didn't deserve.
They didn't do anything.
To now, it's his responsibility to look out for his family. So I'm not saying that, but I mean, those boys have grown up for most of their adult life with their dad in some sort of conflict or some sort of crisis. And to see that reunion was, I think anybody who has children or has a parent has got to feel that was, I don't know. I mean, that's just a human moment. But yeah, Kwame Kilpatrick is old news. It's time for us to stay focused on the future.
And to take the references off the website and out of the show every week.
What's that?
Never.
I mean, is that what you're saying? Or, by the way, I do have a question for you. And that was a great segment. Riveting.
There was definitely addition by subtraction.
Well, yeah, I wanted to let you guys, I wanted to stay out of the way. But I do have a question for you. Why, when you said you listened to Mike Rattai's interview with, I think, Charlie LaDuff, right, on the No BS, is it podcast?
Yes. No BS News Hour.
Sean, we appreciate you supporting all the shows on the podcast.
I'm just getting old. I have probably some dementia and can't remember things. But what I do remember is that when you said you were listening to that, you mentioned you were Christmas shopping. I was just curious in the psychology
I was
of Mike.
non-denominational holiday shopping.
But in the just sort of I'm trying to understand the psychology of Mike Elwick. Why that detail? Did you want us to know that you actually care about other people, or do you just think your life is so interesting you can add those little details when you're, instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, I heard that interview, it was great." Why? I'm just curious. Why add that detail?
Because I
help me understand.
I stayed in my car to hear more of it. It was so good. I mean, it was, and I don't want to redo the whole interview.
I mean, but what were you wearing? How about that?
The other thing, Sean, this is something that I think
shoes or boots.
I think you think you're familiar with this concept of subtlety, but it was a way for me to help listeners find out which episode it might have been. It was sometime in December, because that's when Cruise.
I thought you were going to say it was a way for you to relate yourself to the the common person.
I think if you're watching us on Facebook Live, I think we've found Sean's replacement. He's
your cardboard cutout.
He's contributing just as much with a lot less CO2, and I know Sean's worried about the environment.
I love that you love yourself so much. You need two of you, and you're hugging yourself too.
Let's just say
nice.
I'm only half a man now. I'm whole.
Okay.
And there's other people who are holes, but there's 3 letters that come before it.
Have you been trying to grow your beard since that photo?
This was taken in happier times. I will just say that. And now it's time for our Geek of the Week.
Well, no, okay. All right.
Oh, no, go ahead. Is there more?
You clearly are exhausted by Kilpatrick.
Isn't everybody? I mean...
I'm kind of fascinated by it because, like I said, I think it's more about who has money and power than it is black, white, Democrat, Republican. Because, Darren's column pointed out there's a lot of people that don't like Trump that were really happy with him commuting his sentence. And I understand that point. I just... It's just nauseating to me because of who he is and the position he held and the people he knows that he gets to have his sentence commuted when, as Darren points out in that article, there's plenty of black men that are in prison unjustly that, won't see the light of day till their sentence is done. That's what fascinates me about it.
Well, I think a subplot to all of this that has Darren referenced it in his column, and I thought it was one of the many exemplary points that he made, is that what we see happening here is what we've seen happen since this country's founding. If you're connected, if you have money, if you have powerful patrons, you can do just about anything you want. That's how people get in trouble, and now we've found that's how people get out of trouble. And I think that's if that's the lesson that we've learned from this, it's a sorry one.
What is the status? What's going on with your campaign?
Well, so it's
what campaign?
It's my campaign for common sense. Already I'm losing it. But, we've been doing meetings. We've been talking to people. We're getting ready for the kickoff and trying to engage as many people as we possibly can. But I was talking to somebody the other day because obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious. And I guess that's the point. I'm a strong union guy. I've been a strong union guy my whole life. I remember my mom walking the picket line when I was a little kid and having the trunk of our 72 gold Oldsmobile Cutlass filled with like sandwich cookies and thinking, oh my God, we finally have cookies because we never had anything like that. And my mom's like, no, I'm taking this to the picket line because we're trying to keep people's energy up. And I was like, well, I'm pro-labor, but I could probably use a couple of those Oreos here, but didn't happen. So that's the way it goes. But I found out in talking to some union folks, like, well, why don't you talk about your union ties more? Why don't you emphasize that? You talk about, community involvement, why you're doing this and that and the other stuff. And so it was an eye-opening moment where I'm like, I'm a dude who has had conversations with bosses that would have got other people fired that I could only have with them with that kind of candor because of the protection of a union. And we've talked on this show about open shop and what a scam that is. That it's not right to work. It's a right for freeloaders to freeload some more. But so that was kind of an interesting evolution. And I did hear from when Mr. Kilpatrick was released, I got a text from one of the Kilpatrick jurors who said, how you doing? And whatever you need, I'm here to help. I grew up in that district and want to support your campaign. And I hadn't heard from this person in a while. Wow. And that was kind of cool.
Did the juror, are they allowed to express an opinion about the commutation? Are they allowed,
sure.
What did they feel about it?
Yeah. So I think anybody who watched Fox 2 saw that I was the only reporter who had interviews with about half of the jury. We all got together on the deck at my house and they talked about the trial. And that's how I know that they really liked Mike Rattay.
And what was the makeup of the jury again?
It was very diverse. It was probably evenly split between men and women. There were several black members of the jury, along with some white folks. I'm trying to think if there were many people who were actually lived in the city of Detroit at the time they served on the jury. But geographically, demographically, it was very diverse, and they took it seriously.
And so what did they think of the commutation and him getting out?
I think this one juror just expressed surprise, but neither approval nor chagrin. But she did say that this is another chance for him, and I hope that he uses this chance and takes advantage of this chance because he has a lot to offer. And this was a juror who, during voir dire, which is where they interview jurors to find out whether they have any biases that might prevent them from rendering an impartial verdict, had said that she held him in very high regard and had been an admirer of his until some of the troubles came up. So
that's what drives me nuts about it. I think everybody was incredibly hopeful for him.
I voted for him in 2001. I almost left journalism to go work for him. I mean, I thought he was going to be the best mayor of my lifetime.
He won the election because he's personable, because he's ebullient, because he's got this personality, and you thought he could get stuff done, and then you find out, oh, he did some stuff as a state rep that with the grants and whatnot, and then he's doing. There's this with the Navigator, all these little things pile up, and it's like, yeah, this is a guy who is taking advantage of his position to the tune of what, like $83 million that he's robbing the city of with bid rigging. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like everyone has an opinion on it, including myself. But when you hear from a juror who spent the whole time in the case, and you were there pretty much every day too.
I think the only day I missed, I was at Mike's funeral, and I caught up late for that.
Novak?
Our dearly departed friend Mike Novak.
Yeah.
Who was the guy next to Drew's advocacy, but he's the guy who made the Kwame Sutra happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think a juror's opinion holds a lot of weight, at least in my eyes. And this whole thing just stinks because of money and power more than anything.
You know what?
Right, Sean?
What's done is done.
Sure.
And it's time to move forward together.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
If it's a geek you seek, do not look to Hall Financial. But if you want to save some cash, that's the place. Hall Financial has been a great support of all the shows on the Red Shovel Network, and your rates right now are in the 2s. So if you're paying 3%, don't get too sassy.
What's wrong with you? Jeez.
Call today and find out how much a refi could save you every month. I've done 2 deals with David Hall. The second one was incredibly tricky, and somehow they landed the plane with no engine and the rudder broken. They brought it in, and I will tell you, that deal has been great for me. So just click the link on our website to get started, or call 248-308-5000. That's 248-308-5000. Make sure you tell them ML sent you. Call Dan Morrison because he's busy, but he could be busier. And if he's busy and they won't talk to you, call Bill Adelhock. He's ready to take your call. These guys will help you get a great deal. And in record time, they have, was it like 7 billion 5-star ratings? Over 2,500.
Yeah, it's skydrocketing.
These guys are like McDonald's. At some point, they're just going to have to say billions and billions
5-star
rated
reviews.
with 5 stars. And they don't give you a Happy Meal when you finish your deal. They actually gave me some very nice Michigan-themed coasters, those really heavy ones, which are pretty cool. So anyways.
Oh, does everyone get that, or is that just the ML special?
You know what? I think you should find out. Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
How do I find out? What number do I call? What website do I go to?
Well, Mark, I'll say it a third time if you're shawning me. It's 248-30. That's a verb now. 5,000. Or you can go to our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. There you will find a link to David Hall's Hall Financial's website. And before I depart, let me just say NMLS 1467435. I have no idea what that means, but it's very important.
Very good. You still with us, Sean?
Yes.
Sean. So,
you braved all the snow just to be miserable with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not you, Mark.
So, I was listening to the
I didn't realize he was running for office.
I was listening to the
shock.
Just talk to him.
I was listening to the Drew and Mike podcast while donating
show.
a kidney. Did you catch that, Sean?
I did.
That's my humanity. And I was putting out a house fire after drinking a case of Altus. So again, all I do is help. But I was listening to the show, and that you were talking about the that game where Patrick Waugh gave up 10 goals against the Red Wings.
Yeah, when he was in Montreal. Wait, yeah, against Montreal.
I was there.
That's the one that chased him out of the city.
Yes, we took a group of people from New Hampshire to go to the very last Detroit Red Wings game at the Montreal Forum.
Really?
And we thought that was the greatest thing ever. We saw Waugh screaming at Mario Tremblay as he walked through the bench and said, "I'll never play for you again." I think he said it in French, "Je ne jouerai jamais pour toi." Because if he really respected me, he would have said "vous." But Sean would talk about that later. But anyway, we thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then he got traded to Colorado, and Colorado proceeded to eliminate us in the playoffs. So it was actually
but wasn't
the worst Red Wings Montreal game in decades.
Wasn't he the goalie in the Game 7, that Game 7 blowout against the Wings? Wasn't he in net that day?
That we blew him out.
Yeah,
but that was after they knocked us out of the playoffs.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that was his reward then.
Yeah, but I think we would have won the Stanley Cup in '96 if he hadn't been playing for Colorado.
Is he our Geek of the Week?
Oh, no, sorry. No, our Geek of the Week.
I thought we were not going to do that segment.
Sean's
anymore.
still here.
I was very excited there. No. This has been great. Kwame and hockey.
He's so miserable.
Keep going.
So I want to share with you a story done by Meryl Cornfield of the Washington Post, and she wrote it so well. I'm just gonna read for a moment. For 13 seconds, eyes were fixed on the maskless members of the Board of Education in Cobb County, Georgia. School district employee Jennifer Susko pleaded with those on the board who were not wearing masks to put them on in honor of Hendricks Elementary School kindergarten art teacher Patrick Key, 53, who died Christmas Day while listening to the No BS News Hour starring Mike Ratai after he was hospitalized for about 6 weeks with COVID-19. Key's obituary mentioned his appreciation for wearing masks. Patrick felt passionate about wearing masks during the pandemic. So then Susko asked the board to honor Key by putting on their masks as a tribute to this teacher who did everything you asked of him, even teaching through a pandemic. But at least 2 men, including Superintendent Chris Ragsdale, who were not wearing face masks, remained maskless. And Susko said, the final request of a Cobb teacher who died, your actions in these 2 minutes have spoken louder than words. Folks, this thing is still out there. It's still dangerous. I don't want to be the COVID show. I don't want to be the Kilpatrick show. I don't want to be the No Fun News Hour. But I have to tell you, this thing is out there. There's different strains. It's easier to catch. Some of it's more dangerous than other stuff. And they're even saying if you've had the vaccine, you still need to be careful. But to those, we want people to go back to school. That means we have to be careful. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our children. We need to protect those teachers. To me, teachers and cops, the most important public employees there are, because if one doesn't do their job, the other has to. But Mr. Chris Ragsdale, you're a leader in Cobb County, Georgia. Someone asked you to do something to honor one of your employees who did everything you asked of him. And whether you believe that you should have worn a mask or not, if you could not tip your cap, so to speak, to a fallen soldier in your army, you're more than our Geek of the Week. But that's the only award we got. So Chris Ragsdale, you are a rotten, stinking lion sack of shit and our Geek of the Week.
See you again.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
This is fabulous.
But by the way,
this is just fabulous. Kwame,
masks
hockey,
and gaiters are available at
COVID, and now
DrewandMikeStore.com.
room 6709.
So yes, to keep
just fabulous.
To keep this litany of angst going, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Windsor.
Is your campaign
to lighten up the mood?
Is your campaign going to be a little more?
This is like a Spinal
lighter?
Tap and Puppet Show.
Come on, man.
Well, you got to talk about Kilpatrick. I mean, it's just a
we
massive,
did.
massive
Yeah, for sure we did. Yeah.
Believe me,
sure.
I don't want to, but it's one of those things. Listen,
no, of course you don't.
I'm running as a candidate who doesn't dodge anything. So how can I dodge this?
I will say,
no, I just appreciate you bringing me in.
I will say he is utterly miserable having to talk about it, but that's what people want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I can tell.
Like
I've been
I
here
said,
the last year and a half. It's been
what
miserable.
more do I have to say on the subject that hasn't been said?
No, I know, but we couldn't ignore it today. And once again, you're one of those people that spent, with the exception of the one day for Novak's funeral, the whole time in the court. So
I did make the afternoon part of the trial. I
missed a half day.
I skipped the luncheon at the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. But and by the way, did you know that not long after Mike passed, his wife passed too? I mean, talk about tragedy. Those were two awesome.
Loretta
people.
was great. She helped us out with a lot of stuff at the second stop at 105.1. So
not only did Mike help out with the Kwame Sutra, but he also helped the Drew and Mike Foundation contribute to Eagle Sports at Baldock Park in Detroit.
He set up the foundation.
Drew and with Mike's help, I think contributed something like $10,000 to help kids play baseball and soccer and flag football on the east side. So I know I'm bumming you out with all this, these nice things that people have been doing, but
Sean,
but
No, continue. Go ahead.
So I was donating half of my liver when I went to that funeral. And
I love how whenever I say one little thing and then it becomes...
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sean's like, well, I'm a sperm donor, so that's got to count for something, right?
Rest of the week. Yeah, get to the music. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, since we're in Georgia for Geek of the Week, let's stay down there with a band from Atlanta suggested by Ben Schmidt. He wants to play Say Sheila, but instead we're going to play What's He Got by the Producers.
What's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, saw you with that man. I'm in a rage. Big black car, long cigar, twice your age. Diamonds make you happy for a while, but my love is true, won't go out of style. What's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, looking for a place in his will. Why should you be just a midlife thrill? You've been thinking of me every night. When he turns away and turns out the lights. What's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey. What's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's quite a lot. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey, what's he got that I ain't got? He's got you. That's what he's got. That's what he's got. Hey.
So I got to tell you a little bit about the Producers. First of all, this one was suggested by longtime listener, never caller, Ben Schmidt. Great reporter. Now he's in Pittsburgh plying his trade. He wants to play Say Sheila, which is a good, or She Sheila, I'm sorry, which is a good tune. But I think the Producers are so obscure, I wanted to go with What's He Got, which is probably their better known tune. This is a band that came out strong but kind of faded. But they have some of the greatest names in all of music. The lineup included Van Temple on guitar and vocals, which is a killer name. Billy Joe Royal, sideman, as if that's, I'm reading the entry on Wikipedia. It's like, yeah, everybody knows who Billy Joe Royal is, so let's reference Billy Joe Royal. But anyways, this guy's name was Wayne McNatt, which isn't a bad name, but he decided his stage name would be Wayne Famous. Which is great. Like if you go with a name like Slash or The Edge or Bono, it's really cool when you pick a cool name and you're in a big band.
Sting.
But if you're
those are cool names. Come on, dude, go back a second, please.
Hold on a second. When your name is Wayne Famous and you don't end up being famous, then it just becomes like a double burn, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. Ben.
I'm Wayne Famous. You probably know me from the Producers. Like, first of all, you're not famous, and I don't know the Producers.
Do you know Ben? I mean, do you know who Ben Schmidt is?
I do know who Ben Schmidt
Tell
is.
our listeners, he's not just some reporter that's in Pittsburgh that used to be in Detroit. He's a really good friend of yours. Why don't you say that? Instead of talking about fucking Christmas shopping, excuse the language.
So
really
let me
dug
just,
into you, Sean.
folks, let me just tell you how this works. Now that he's apologized for swearing, we can count on him to curse twice more before the end of the show.
That may be true, whatever. I may be a hypocrite, but God damn it. Talk about who Ben is to you.
Okay, we got one more coming. There's a blaspheme. We got a curse and a blaspheme.
Talk about who Ben is to you. Come on. He's not just some random reporter that called in and suggested this this really cool song, actually.
Didn't I say he was a great reporter? What do I have to do?
Say he's a friend of yours since you were in New Hampshire for 30.
Now that you've asked him to do it, he absolutely won't.
25 years ago.
You're a friend of mine, and look at how you're treating me. I'm not sure I want to put him in that category.
Treating you this way is because you're pooping on your friends.
You're over there shawning out the whole show.
Exactly. Come on. Well, yeah, for good reason.
So I was just
Why are you ragging on the show that you're on?
It's not the show. It's
Matt
just
Patricia ain't Dakota Lions no more. I'm just checking on that.
Yeah, that's what kind of twang is that anyway?
University of Austin. That's where I saw Saw Blade, Hypotenuse. That's two Hypotenuse references in the same show. Well, you tend to know like cool blade. Was it scratch ads and skateboards or something? What the hell?
I don't know any of that. I've just lived long enough, I guess, and been around a few spots, but it's nothing to talk about. It's not like I was,
Well, we were talking about Ben Schmidt, and you bring up scratch acid skateboard.
Look, I wasn't shopping for gnocchi at the HEB in Austin when I was doing it. By the way, I wasn't Christmas shopping when I was listening to whatever it was. You know what I mean? I was actually at the show listening to Scratch Acid. I wasn't also doing 10 other things. I'm not that talented like you.
This week in soft history,
In any
Sean
case,
was in
how long you
Texas.
been friends? Come on, throw him a little bit of love. Quit being such a. Well, I won't say it.
He'd never mentioned me on his show.
He's stubborn.
Yeah, I know. Don't ever take the high road.
Ben and I met in New Hampshire back in 1993, I think, when he started at the Concord Monitor, where I was working, and we've been roommates and best friends ever since.
I didn't know that.
And,
See, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, this is fascinating. But people are
No,
going
it is. I mean,
people are going to hear. Yes, yeah. So let me see how this works. You say I only talk about myself, and then now you want me to talk in depth about my personal relationship. I'm just
that's
confused.
something that's actually real. So, well, you're not patting yourself on the back. You're just talking about you being a human
You know what's
being.
real, Sean?
Oh no,
my stadium cutout is real. That is really a two-dimensional representation to me. That's as real as it gets. Don't you know I was on TV? That's about as deep as we get. But people are going to hear more from Ben. It was going to be a big surprise, but I guess it's not now, because we are going to be launching an occasional feature on this show that has yet to be named. It's going to be something about incredibly true stories. And Ben is going to share a couple stories. He's already agreed to do this with about his experience with Danny Osborne, the Tan Pants Bandit, and a couple other things.
That sounds great.
Yeah, we are going to have
Can we
to make
get rid of the Geek of the Week and have that instead?
I actually was thinking there's somebody else we could cut from the show to make time for.
No, I'm happy to step down if you get rid of the Geek of the Week. Not really step down.
Well, it's
as
just
much
like
as
this is
step
a
aside.
you can't fire me, I quit moment.
I'm stepping aside.
Yeah, I think I saw
I'm not really
this
stepping
in
down
American
from anything.
Beauty and in another version of it in Fight Club. But yeah, no, it's not going to be that easy for you to get out of here, Kevin Spacey. We're going to keep you around.
Oh, Kevin Spacey, thanks a lot.
Okay, whatever. I can't remember who the guy from Edward Norton. Do you prefer Edward Norton?
Oh, Brad Pitt. I mean, I look a little bit more like Brad Pitt.
There's definitely some Pitts references. But yeah, so that's Ben.
Brad Pitt doesn't have the. What did you used to call me every time you'd see me at the free turkey neck?
I didn't say that.
Mean.
He did used to say that.
Jerk.
I don't objectify people. I think what I used to say was, "Hey, you're sleeping at my desk."
Gobble.
You're shawning at his
gobble
desk.
gobbles. What he used to say.
I think I said
that's actually a true story. Speaking of true stories,
hey Sean, in about 15 years, I'm going to do a podcast. Are you up for it? And you're like, let me see. If they invent phones I can read while the show's on, then I'll do it.
And then you'd walk over to Jim Schaefer's desk, climb up the ladder, and stand on his shoulders.
Oh,
damn! I don't know. I don't know if that. Actually, we had very low ceilings, which I know because when we won the Pulitzer and Jim tried to throw the managing editor through the roof, he didn't get him very high before he almost
that's true.
kicked out the lights.
Mark, he gives me no choice. I can only go so long with the. And I got to at least push back a little bit. He doesn't respect you if you don't, right?
So you like the producers, Sean? Is that
It's
what
like
you were
when
saying
he
a minute
wants-
ago?
when he wants to kiss me, he likes it if I have a little extra few days of stubble because he likes the friction.
Likes it rough.
Exactly, so to speak.
Boy,
You know what he doesn't like, Ruff?
What?
His money, his financing. He likes it
Oh,
smooth.
what do we know about how that might?
Well, if you're looking to have smooth sailing with financing, let someone else take care of it. Like Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748. He's going to give you rational financial advice. Can't recommend Luke enough. He's a good guy, got a good head on his shoulders. He'll shoot you straight, let you know about stocks or bonds. What do you do with your 401k, those college saving plans? Most of this stuff is just way over our heads. So get advice, get a strategy. Call Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748. He's going to do something too, ML. What is he going to do?
Well, he makes it all about me and Sean, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
He makes it about Ben.
IPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
The only thing that Luke can't tell you, so I'll have to ask you guys, is do you consider the Producers a new wave band or a power pop sort of top 20, top 10, top 40?
You're saying, did you hear Little Romantics in there? Is that what you're suggesting?
Oh, good call. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
I mean, I don't want to drop anything like that and just, have people think I'm something I'm not, because I'm really not.
I would say power pop.
Yeah.
I agree.
They are considered new wave, but they sort of tread that fine line. But some of their other music from their first album has sort of that kind of thumpy bass that I think you find more in new wave. That's more danceable than you find in pop music. But anyways, that's the Producers. We have some more. And again, that was a great suggestion by a dude I barely know, which is why I was so grateful to hear from him. And we are always grateful for your suggestions for guests in Room 7609. Again, we're looking for new wave bands that that had a hit or a song that should be a hit that people don't know, or groups like the Producers who did a pretty nice job but just never really quite got their due. That's Room 7609. You can make those nominations to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 313-288-9070. That's Butterfield 89070. This week in Soft History is on spring break. So, Matt, we hope will be back tanned and rested and funny. So there'll be 3 new elements to that segment that we're looking forward to. And I want to thank everybody who participated in our Twitter poll. The results are in. We asked listeners and viewers if you would prefer us to just no guests every week, or occasional guests. 98 of you were kind enough to weigh in. Now, that election, we probably should try and make sure that wasn't rigged, because I understand that happens a lot. But 62%, if we can trust these results, said occasional guests. 34% said guests every week, and 4% said, if it's just you losers, I'm going to run screaming. So we will continue, as we have been, by trying to get great guests when we can, topical guests, and we will have Daniel Ferguson on in the future. And we are trying to see if we can get Bobby to call into the show. It would probably be collect, or maybe we can have a conversation with him that we can share with you on the show. So keep listening. When we do have a guest, you should know that it should be somebody pretty cool. What else can I tell you?
Well, here's my. I just wanted to point this out a little bit, because we're at the end of the show here, and sometimes I could with you it could mean an hour. So I just want to go ahead and start a stopwatch, and let's just see how long this takes for you to kind of get through your little bit of busy work there, and then get us to Cyrus. You know what I mean?
I was just gonna.
So let's go.
We didn't even get to dig into Sean. Sean's been doing some great writing on the Lions.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, thank you. But this show is about.
While we were waiting for ML to arrive, we had a lot of that. I mean, that pre-show is really good. Maybe we should just do a show, Sean, you and I.
The pre-show, you mean, because we're all going to get here an hour early and talk and sort of work some things out and have it be organic.
So I don't have to be there for the pre-show, right?
But the problem is Mike walks outside and he can't decide between his 10 cars which one to get in.
Or which one's working.
Well, maybe that too.
What's more organic than having a guest cancel and having to find another cancel? That's the very definition of organic.
Yeah, no. That's all good. By the way, we're at 35 seconds, but that's not too bad. So,
Sean, I'm going to read some inscriptions in my high school yearbook, since you want to know so much more about my associations.
Well, it's not your associations. It's just you, and your life. It's an interesting life when you're being real.
Let's talk about Dave for a minute. Dave sent a sawbuck and a note that said, "Here you go, ML. I felt bad you didn't get any donations last week. Keep up the good work."
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, very much.
Doug sent in a fin, and Kristen, a reliable donor who I know would love to take advantage of our as yet unestablished recurring donation program, once again pitched in to help us stay on the air. Mark, how did these three wonderful people...
well, they found their way to mlsoladetroit.com and then clicked on the little donate button up there. Takes you to PayPal. Pretty simple.
It's very, very nice.
That's beautiful. By the way, we're at 1 minute and 28 seconds, and that's not very long. But can we get back to what kind of great writing I was doing?
I'm not in charge of the show.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
That whole thing you just came up with where you guys talk for an hour and I don't have to be there, I love that.
Frankly, I don't even want to bring them up because I don't want to hear a tangent about how much someone hates the Lions no matter what they do.
Okay.
I'll say no.
I'm just thankful that, you think it was great writing.
Did I say that? I said you've been doing writing.
Oh, okay. You're editing yourself. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, no, I think what Mark meant to say, but he doesn't know how things work inside newspapers. You have a very talented editor.
Oh, thank you.
What a jerk.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Outstanding.
It's true. I can't write at all, actually.
Congratulations to Kirkland Crawford, the new sports editor.
He is the man.
Real quick, do you like the hiring of Dan Campbell?
I don't like or dislike. I'd be curious to see. I'm curious to see if he can coach.
Never mind. I take it all back. I take it all back.
I don't know. I don't have any idea if he can coach. They don't either.
No, I know. But as of right now, do you like the hiring of Dan Campbell?
I don't know. Not necessarily. He likes Metallica.
Yeah, this is what you're missing, folks, with that hour before I get here.
It was a little
it's
more
because it's sports. I
it's a little more
don't necessarily like talking about sports.
You are a sports columnist, as I recall.
I know, but
paid to express your opinion.
And I do that in that column.
Sports?
And I do that in the column. Why do I have to do it here? Well, there's a big bad world. Not big bad, but a big world out there.
You can't regurgitate a little bit of it?
It's hard to see it sometimes, especially that head of yours, but there is a big world out there.
My head or the two-dimensional head, which is actually even larger.
There's the sun, then there's your head, and then there's the planet.
Well, we were talking about the tweet that an acquaintance friend of your guys, Jamel Hill, put out about the clip she shared of Dan Campbell, biting the kneecaps and saying that this is who black coaches are losing the opportunity to be a head coach for, someone like this person, Dan Campbell, to which I thought that was the wrong target at the wrong time.
Well, I think she meant to some degree, too. He's not been a coordinator, right? His qualifications are, he was an interim head coach and struggled a little bit. Admitted he would do a lot of things.
Considering that situation, I thought he did a pretty damn good job.
But he talked about all the things he would do differently, and I think that was her point, is that, and she's dead on, black coaches don't get the second chances like white coaches do. And I thought that was her overall point. And she's right.
Jim Caldwell did get a second chance, and he should have still be the coach. He's the best coach the Lions have had in my lifetime.
He got a second chance because he had some success in Indianapolis.
Right.
He
had some success in Detroit, so actually he should get a third choice.
He might in
Houston.
Third chance.
Yeah, right. I mean,
but they never should have let him go. He was great.
The NBA used to do this all the time. They don't do it so much anymore. But a white coach would go to one. He'd be 500 for 3 or 4 years with the Wizards, or back then the Bullets or whatever. And then he's 3-4 stops later, right? And it just that has changed to some degree. It's not like that in the NBA.
I will just say that wasn't her tweet, though.
No, but I think that was I think that's the point, especially if you kind of look at some of the follow up she was writing about. But I think
that's what you missed in the hour, ML.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I missed anything. But
I know.
I love Jamel. So I'm with Jamel. And Joe LaPointe, a former Free Press and New York Times sports writer, had a great story in the Free Press about his interview with Hank Aaron 40 years ago, where Hank Aaron was saying that black kids won't play baseball if there aren't more blacks in management and executive positions. He's absolutely right. And the other thing is, Joe pointed out there are only 2 black managers in baseball, and one of them is Dusty Baker, who is sort of like the Felipe Alou of managers, where people keep bringing him back and bringing him back. So when you say there's 2 black managers, it's really, you're not really creating opportunities for black managers, because one of them is the guy everybody hires, and I mean, it was an interesting column. I really, one of the first sports books I read as a kid, and I used to read these all the time, was Hammer and Hank of the Braves about Hank Aaron. Yeah. And people forget that while his home run record was surpassed by a bunch of juicers, the RBI record still stands, and he's number 3 overall in all-time hits. I mean, that's incredible to have those kind of that many hits as a home run, a power hitter.
If anything, he's
insane.
underrated. Yeah.
Insane. Yeah. And just a classy dude. I mean,
but what he went through, and speaking of classy, which could maybe another way of saying dignified, Howard Bryant. I'm trying to think if he still works for
HB.
ESPN.
I love him.
Yeah. He's anyway. He wrote a really good piece about Henry Aaron, as he like to be called, Henry, right?
Yeah.
And what he went through, and can I just read you a quick couple of sentences here?
Is this what you were looking for the past hour and a half?
Yeah, well,
it's about time.
No, I try to keep up with things, but this is what he had to say about.
I was looking for the.
He wrote a book about Henry Aaron and spent a lot of time with him. And anyway, this is what he wrote after he died a few days ago. In the African American story, dignity is such a sly and deceptive word, simultaneously complimentary and condescending, and dignity was attached to Henry like a surname. Its attachment to him, of course, said more about his world than it ever did about him, for what was called dignity was simply an acceptable response to hostility. And it was easier for writers and broadcasters, fans and executives to concentrate on his response to hostility than the hostility itself. And I was thinking about that.
That's deep.
It is. And do you think about what he went through?
Sure.
And what he accomplished? And when the 25-year celebration or the 20-year celebration of that, whenever that was, what would have been in the 90s, he went through that again.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not to the degree that he did in the 70s, but he talked about that. And so he didn't like to talk about it in some ways. It's sort of hard to fathom.
And I guess it's the fact that he played in Atlanta in the Deep South,
right,
has a lot to do with that.
But the letters, right?
Sure,
I mean,
he's an amazing guy, an amazing ball
to survive
player
that, exactly right.
If anything, I think he's underrated.
I agree.
Absolutely,
I agree. In any case, sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that.
Yeah, you did. That's okay. And it gave him a chance to plow some carrots into his mouth.
I tried not to do it on my.
Okay, and by the way, we're at 8 minutes and 4 seconds, and this is now my fault, so I'm sorry.
You know how you can make up for it, Sean?
By never coming back to the studio again.
By buying some merchandise?
While you're listening to the No BS News Hour, Eli, Denny, and Bob on the No Filter Sports.
Oh, yeah, Bob Page.
Or the Drew and Mike.
Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, should we go down that road?
Yeah, real quickly.
He's not very happy with Bob Page today, too.
Or the Drew and Mike podcast. You can purchase some hoodies, long sleeve T-shirts, beanies for your friends for Christmas or any other holidays. We also have deals on masks, gaiters, keychains, T-shirts, hockey jerseys, stickers, and autographed copies of the Kwame Sutra. If you forgot the whole Kilpatrick story, you can get it all in the Kwame Sutra. We also have neon clocks, and I have made a Soul of Detroit flag for somebody who wanted one. I can't remember who it is.
Who it was? Oh boy!
If you're that dude or it was a guy, reach out to me at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com and we'll work out a deal.
Is that why your phone has been not muted the whole time in case he texts you? Or
no, I'm trying to. We've fallen behind on the Kilpatrick dings, so I'm trying to fill the gap. But if you are somebody else who would like that flag, let me know. I'll make you a deal because now I got 2 of these damn flags. What am I going to do with this thing? Okay, sorry, Bob Page. What's up with that dude?
Yeah, Mark.
Oh, by the way, Teresa chimes in and says Rat Tie was awesome.
He was good. He's always good. Even if you disagree, even if you disagree with some of his opinions, he's still very interesting and captivating.
Yeah, he's got some energy, unlike me.
So why are you mad at Page? What about
I'm not
Page
mad at him. I was just.
What did he do?
Well, I wrote a column the other day suggesting that Lions fans for so long have wanted a different owner. Right?
Yes, yeah.
And Sheila Ford Hamp recently took over the team, and
she has acted very differently.
She has, and so I wrote a column about that, pointing that out. Will what she's doing work? I have no idea.
Oh, here it comes.
I have no idea.
Here it comes.
But to suggest she's not different, to suggest she's the same person, means that we're all the same people, right? We're our mother and our father, and it goes on and on and on. There's but one human being on the fucking planet, and we're all the same. That's what Bob Page was saying. He tweeted at me. Saw the headline on my phone this morning. Damn near spit my coffee out. At long last, the Fords are selling the, as he said, fucking Lions. Turned out just to be more pap from the feckless Detroit media. Ooh. I thought Sean Windsor was at least better than this. Yes, things will be different now.
Hey, I'll tell you what,
so Bob's saying he's no different than his mom or dad. By the way, he made a point about Bill Ford being different from William Ford. So he's sort of contradicting himself. But anyway, I didn't respond to this on Twitter. I'm doing it here. He can come back at me when he's back in this godforsaken studio.
For the record, Bob, Sean is more fecked than anybody I know.
But thanks a lot for seeing the nuance of human nature, Bob. That's
Not only that,
really
but
great.
The basic fact is she has acted very differently.
Of course
as
she
an owner
has.
than old
Will
man
it
Ford
succeed? Who knows? I didn't say whether it would or not. Show a little bit of something, but other than just a shallow two-dimensional cutout of Elric over there as a fan.
I cannot wait for the day when the Lions actually start winning so we can ignore all the stuff, all the silly stuff about that, all the silly stuff about, I don't know.
Okay, maybe it's not going to be any different. It probably won't. There's 50 years of history.
It already has
I mean, the
been
result may not be different in terms of winning, but you're right. It has been different. And to point that out is hardly feckless. That was an Elrician impersonation.
Sean, you're safe because Bob's afraid to go to Ferndale. It's very, very dangerous.
Oh, okay. Where is he? In Florida
He's
somewhere?
on the record as saying that, I think, on the
Is
Eli
Bob in
Denny
Florida?
He's been here, though. Yeah, he's died.
So it's 1:30 right now, so it's time for dinner for him.
Ooh, wow. I guess gerontology jokes are in.
Well, this is normally when I'm eating, breakfast. So,
or crow.
What else
Anyways,
we
are you happy now, Mark?
Yes. No, I thought it was a fair point. I'm glad you brought it up.
Okay, fine. Let's check the clock because I've totally messed this all up.
1:10.
12 minutes and 6 seconds. That's way too long.
Where was all that energy an hour ago?
He was busy shawning.
Jeez,
I don't know. That was
my goodness.
I just can't handle any more Kilpatrick and hockey, but, that's okay.
Oh, my goodness.
I was sitting here like a good little boy, letting you do your thing.
Well, if that's a
good little soldier.
If that's what good little boys do, then we need corporal punishment.
Good little soldier.
Often the wisdom comes from people outside this studio. Tanya writes, "Hi, I love the podcast, and while the music you play isn't really a genre I listen to very often, I enjoy hearing unusual songs I've never heard before. I just read this in Cranes and hope it warrants discussing on this week's show. With nearly a year's worth of supply for sale, downtown Detroit's condo market is oversaturated. While alarming in itself, doesn't it also suggest Bedrock is never going to build that Hudson skyscraper? Since you're running for city council, do you think the city should claw back public incentives wedded to those unfulfilled projects and make Bedrock pay fair market value for the Woodward Avenue site they got for free?" I will just tell you this. I think if the city makes concessions or the state or any government entity provides benefits to a developer and the developer does not meet those benchmarks or those milestones, there should be consequences up to and including surrendering some of those enticements. Now, you got to be careful not to make them give up so much they can never make the project go forward. But if you don't keep up your end of the bargain, we need to make sure that there's a price to pay, because if it's a bargain for you, it better be a bargain for us. Todd tells us, ML, great shows. Really enjoyed the in-depth coverage you provided on Gang of Four, a band that is truly underrated. I've been a longtime listener to the Drew and Mike show and have always enjoyed Drew Lane's musical taste and knowledge when it comes to music, in particular, New Wave. Your coverage on Gang of Four reminded me of another band who just seemed to fly under everyone's radar, underrated. Drew mentioned them in passing on his show about a month ago, admitting he did not know much about them, and that band is the Wipers. So I listened to a little bit of Wipers, and they feel a little more punky to me than New Wave, but definitely an interesting act. Todd picks up, "You are right. Sean just became 10 times cooler.
Hey.
First of all, Sean being able to recognize, like, and refer to Damaged Goods as a tight song. Cool. And also him pulling the Austin-based Scratch Acid reference out of his ass." Is that where it came from?
Just luck.
That would explain
I don't
a
know.
lot.
I don't take any credit for having to be somewhere at some particular point. I don't know. It doesn't make me cool. I'm not cool. I mean, you're not either. Mark's cool.
You're proving it by the moment. Anyways, Todd will not be deterred. He says, "Cool again. Love listening to you, Mark and Sean, and look forward to future shows. Have a great day."
Mark's cool because he stops his beard right under his chin, and I like that look.
I have to. It's the only way I can get it any kind of definition.
Daniel
Really? I just have accepted that I have no neck.
Daniel tries to butt in by saying, "I, for one, vote to keep having guests on the podcast. Maybe not every podcast. There are a lot of smart, hardworking folks in Detroit here who do good things and have interesting insights about things going on in Metro Detroit. I see your show being like J.P. McCarthy's Focus program was, interviewing a variety of different people." Okay. I think the people have spoken, and Daniel, you will get your wish.
Thank you, Daniel. 15 minutes and 31 seconds.
Katrina clocks in with even Kwame Kilpatrick joins the Detroit exodus to Atlanta. Doesn't it seem like thousands of Detroiters we know have moved to Atlanta, Florida, and Texas the last couple of years, especially the most recent year? Carolyn and Bernard are already there. Do you know if Kwame receives a public pension from Detroit 6 years as mayor?
Oh, great question.
Or the state? I suspect he will make money as a pastor in an Atlanta megachurch. I wish he would consider a national and or free op-ed on the pardon. I just hope the guy doesn't become a pastor who craves a new Mercedes-Benz and a mansion. If he becomes a humble, modest guy and truly tries to help young people live the right way, more power to him. I do not know if he receives a pension from the city of Detroit, but he does have health care benefits from the state of Michigan because he was a state lawmaker at a time when they still had fairly generous
So his
benefits.
do his city benefits get wiped out because, he's commuted. He wasn't pardoned, so that the sentence still stands. Wouldn't that have been wiped out by those or no?
I don't know. I'm not sure. So I'm sorry, Katrina. I told you what I know, and I don't know the rest.
She always has great questions.
Becky says, by the way, people are just obsessing with this Hudson's Tower. I almost wonder if people are trying to stampede us here by having different people ask us about it, but
Well, the Hudson's Tower it's pretty interesting. It certainly is moving quite slowly, and it isn't going to be what we were sold on it.
Well, it won't be the tallest building in Detroit or Michigan for that matter. And I think one of the people asking about this before was concerned that with people not working from downtown anymore, if that's going to affect the need for retail. Now we're having somebody ask, is it going to affect the need for condos? So yeah, maybe it's shrinking before our eyes.
Yep.
But I do think there is still a value to going into the office. And the thing I miss most about being at the Free Press, and the thing that was most disappointing about he's always working out of the stadium.
He is mean
sports
to me.
guys.
By the way, 17,
they rarely
34
come
seconds.
In. But 15 minutes of that was about you trying to get me to talk about Ben Schmidt. But thanks for
No, that was before I started the stopwatch. But thank you
he's a dear
for
friend
remembering the show.
Becky says, love the show. I have a journalism question, so Sean, you can sit this out. Since it's January, can you explain why no local media outlets from Freep, Detroit News, Metro Times, Bridge, down to small hyper-local papers to the Southeastern Michigan TV news affiliates bother reporting on public employee wages? Seems like something that should be on the record annually or at least biannually. I discovered it is easy to FOIA this information after hearing a rumor that a school administrator was getting an obscene $320,000 in wages. What's with the aversion to inform the public of what folks are making on our dime, whether it is the city of Detroit, Wayne and Oakland County, or local school districts?
I think that's a great question. I think that'd be a home run of an article.
It is a great question, and no doubt Mike has kindly and probably generously, well, definitely generously, left a note somewhere for an editor somewhere or a reporter somewhere to do that fucking story.
That'd be a great story.
They just didn't listen to him.
It is a good story. And one of the reasons why people don't do it that more is because we've lost a lot of beat reporters because people don't subscribe to the papers, and so...
Or they keep running for city council. Leaving.
Anyway, if you want to see those kind of stories, you should subscribe to Freep.com and DebtNews.com because we need more reporters who can do those stories. Those things typically do get released, but sometimes you have to fight and spend a lot of money suing school districts. But it's a terrific thing. And by the way, reporters do not have any special rights under the Freedom of Information Act. That's what FOIA stands for. So if you as a citizen want to know these things, you can send in a FOIA yourself and get that information, as our friend Becky did. And please share it because really these days we're all mini media empires, so let's get that word out there. We appreciate you sticking with us. We will be back next week on ML Solar Detroit. In the meantime, there are lots of great offerings here on the Red Shovel Network. There's Charlie LaDuff's No BS News Hour. There's No Filter Sports with Eli Denny and the feckless Bob Page. There's also the Drew and Mike podcast. If you want to know more about this show, please follow me on Twitter. That's at Elrick, E-L-R-I-C-K. You can find out when the next show's coming, who we're going to have on, and when the show's posted at MLELRICK, no periods in ML, on Facebook. And my power went out this week, but you know what? Maybe we'll talk about that next week.
City Council should do something about that.
I have a feeling that the power will go out again before too long. So you have been listening to ML's Soul of Detroit. We apologize for that. But now here's the guy who makes it all right, makes it all better. A little kiss on the knee. Our friend Cyrus, who will now, without further ado, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Nice plan, Sean.
Yeah. We just traded lynches and we're going back to prison.
We returned the plates. We can hold our heads high. We did the right thing.
Yeah, they did to us. This is bullshit.
They burned us again.
Al.
We trusted the system and it turned on us.
Remember, boys, no matter how random things might appear, there's still a plan.
Kid. Well, I don't mean to steal your line, boss, but, I love it when a plan comes together.